Well, hello there. Welcome to the Deadly Analysis Podcast. This is a short, spoiler-free review of the 2020 horror film She Dies Tomorrow, written and directed by Amy Seimetz. I'm probably butchering that no matter how I try to pronounce it. She Dies Tomorrow is about a woman named Amy who has a strange feeling that she's going to die tomorrow. And despite having no rational explanation for this, she remains utterly convinced. She absolutely knows that she is going to die tomorrow. Somehow, this conviction begins to spread contagiously throughout the town that she's in. Other people in the town also start to suddenly believe that they are going to die the next day. And they believe it as surely as they do that the sun will rise the next day. Weird premise, but very interesting. This film struck me first and foremost as a very personal project, right? I mean, obviously the writer-director's name is Amy, and the main character in the movie's name is Amy. But apparently Amy's closest friend in the film is a person named Jane, and it's actually played by Amy's real-life friend named Jane Addams. This gets very meta very quickly. So right off the bat, you get the idea that this is a kind of reflective piece, right? It's a very intimate and personal portrayal of how Amy confronts death, how we confront death, right? Its inevitability, its impact on our lives in terms of regret, opportunities lost, roads never taken, and ultimately what is or is not valuable in the broad scheme of things. There's a really interesting subplot in this movie where Amy eventually decides that she wants to be made into a leather jacket when she's gone. Like, she wants her skin to be used to make a jacket in much the same way a deer skin would be used to make a jacket. Which is weird, for sure, but you start to get the idea that Amy is really questioning the usefulness of her life, that she really hasn't given back to the world in any way. She's just been a taker. And that's heavy. Like, imagine taking inventory of your last 24 hours of life and feeling like you've done so little to impact the world to any degree that you at least want to be made into this thing that can keep somebody warm on occasion. I mean, that's heavy, right? And at one point, Amy's friend Jane comes to her house and sees Amy sprawled out on the floor. And Amy says something in the movie, something to the effect of, I want to be like the tree that these wooden floors are made out of. She wants to be useful in her death. She knows that she's going to die tomorrow, and she wants her remaining time to be useful, just for once. Strangely, this movie reminded me of, in some ways, of Pontypool, right? We did a long analysis of Pontypool on our channel if you want to check it out. So in Pontypool, you have this contagion, right? It's not a traditional viral contagion in Pontypool. It's sort of ethereal or mental, right? So in Pontypool, it's a language virus that infects people. It's words, essentially, that get infected. And in She Dies Tomorrow, it's a conceptual virus that goes around this town. It's an idea that burrows so deeply into one's mind that you are literally just flat out convinced nobody can change your mind of your own forthcoming death. And you're so convinced of it, you'd be as convinced of it as that you're watching YouTube right now, right? You're watching this video of me talking. And so this movie, that's part of the downside of being a personal project, is that this movie can feel at times a bit too existential, which is saying a lot for me. It's a very art house sort of film, which I usually shy away from. I consider myself somewhat left-brained when I'm watching horror movies. I always need to know the raw ontology of the bad guy, shit like that. I need to know what's causing the thing in question. How did it arise? How did it originate? That kind of stuff, right? So I tend to have questions when I watch horror films, but I also have an acute fear of death. One that drives many of my ongoing purposive components of my life. I'm one of those people that if you get a few beers in me and start asking me what my thoughts about life are all about, what's the point of it, what do you ultimately want to do with your existence, I just go straight for the existential jugular. When I think what this movie's about, it reminds me kind of like when I'm drunk and asking big questions with friends who I'm close to, right? It feels heavy. It feels like there's a real gravitas to this film that I appreciated. And as more and more people in this town, in this movie, start to realize their finitude and begin to believe that they're going to die tomorrow, all of this baggage of their lives comes out, and you get to see what people really think, what they really believe. You get to see what's real, what's fake, what's a facade, and what they value. And I think, that was maybe part of the point of the movie, to see what bleeds out when you're confronted with an imminent abyss, right? Because that's actually the state we're in now, right? You and me, like, oh, sure, we're probably not gonna die tomorrow, but if you add up enough tomorrows, we're gonna get there. So if there's anything normative in this film, it's the idea that maybe it's worthwhile to just sit and meditate on your own death. To bring it out from the back of your mind into the forefront every now and again and see what you find. Face it so much that it no longer becomes a horror. Anyway, that's kind of what I got from this movie. Strange flick, very different, bit artsy, maybe a little too artsy, but a good movie. Probably not for everyone, but I think I would recommend this as a movie to watch worth your time. Just to give it a shot, see what you think. If you've seen this movie, I'm very curious. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. I feel like there would be a lot of polarizing comments down below based on this movie, but I'm really interested to see what you guys think. Thanks for watching.